Welcome back to another episode of Always Pneumatic, Never Static, the official podcast of Bulk and Spur. Now, normally on this show, we talk about stuff that keeps this company moving forward. Drivers, terminal, safety, hauling plastics, flour, minerals, basically anything that can be sucked into a trailer with a giant vacuum hose. But today, we're doing something a little different. Because if you work at Bulk, you already know the names Bryan, Andrea, and Brad. They're the ownership team. They're the people making the big decisions. They're the ones keeping this whole operation rolling every day. But here's the thing. Most people here only know them in work mode. What we don't really know is who's the most competitive out of the siblings, who has the weird hobby that nobody expects, and which one of them is most likely to buy something frivolous that they completely don't need. Today, we're pulling the curtain back a little bit. This episode is less about trucking and more about the people behind the trucking company. So we're going to talk hobbies, interests, stories from growing up, maybe a little sibling rivalry, and later on, we're going to put them through a rapid-fire round of questioning so we can really learn the important things, like their guilty pleasure snacks. So let's get into it. Joining me today, the ownership team here at Bulk and Spur, Andrea, Bryan, and Brad. Let's get into it.
You're listening to Always Pneumatic, Never Static, the totally pressurized podcast brought to you by Bulk Transit, where we keep the lines clear, the tanks empty, and the conversation anything but dry. Whether you're running powder, pellets, or anything in between, pull up a seat, crack the windows, and let's hit it.
Bulk and Spur Transit, welcome into Always Pneumatic, Never Static for episode 7. Very excited to have you all here today. Now, this episode, as you heard in the cold open, is going to be a little bit different. Yeah, we're talking to the ownership team, Brad, Andrea, and Bryan. However, we're not talking to them about trucking. Now, it'll be a little bit ancillary. Trucking will find its way into the conversation and out of it, so don't worry. We'll still have that same feel here, but today we want to know the people that are running the company. And since back in episode 1, we got a great story about how they all came through the ranks, started out with Bulk and Spur, and then ended up taking over, of course. But that's work stuff. We're going to peel the curtain back on the hobbies today, and I'm excited about that because I've always thought that while your job or your career defines a great deal of the legacy that you leave, we spend almost as many hours outside of work, if not more, with our families, with our friends, pursuing hobbies, pursuing all sorts of goals and different accomplishments, and that is what today's episode is about. We're going to talk about the trophy cases that they might have on their walls, maybe some accolades that they've received over the time since they've taken over with Bulk. But one way or the other, we're going to have a lot of fun in today's episode with Bryan, Andrea, and Brad. So without further ado, we need to get to some homework so we can clear enough space for this interview today and have plenty of time to enjoy it and ask the burning questions like who's your favorite band and what's your favorite color. So here is where we get to the homework. Podcast.bulktransit.com is the website. That's where you can find everything you need to know about every single episode that we produce here on Always Pneumatic, Never Static. At that website, you're going to find the names of everybody that was involved in each episode, what we're talking about, and yes, you can listen to the episodes right there from the website, so there's no reason that you got to go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Google or any of the rest of it. You can find the podcast at all of those places, but if you want to find it by going to the same website every day, then bookmark it in your browser on your phone right now, podcast.bulktransit.com. And I want you to pay special attention after this episode drops to that website because we've already got some pictures that Brad DeWolf has sent us. We asked Brad, Andrea, and Bryan to send us some pictures of, hobbies, them outside of work. What are the things that you like to do? And it took Brad like 30 seconds to send us some awesome pictures and a bunch of them. So we're going to put a gallery together up there on the website of all the pictures that we get from everybody. And that way you guys can go up there, browse through there, see some of the hobbies and endeavors that the DeWolfs and Andrea are going on. Now, that's going to be tough for me today because while they're siblings, Andrea is, of course, married, so she has a different last name. So if I accidentally refer to all three of them today as the DeWolfs, please do forgive me, Andrea, and especially Andrea's husband, Mr. McClung. I promise you it's not because I'm trying to leave out the name or anything like that. The only reason is because my mouth moves faster than my brain. It's my cross to bear. I actually think it's been quite effective for the career path that I've chosen, but sometimes details can get a little bit zany, if you will. So my apologies in advance. I've got everything written down here. I've got my notes in front of me, so I'm going to give it my best effort today. 110% effort from your podcast host today. Because, while this is going to be a fun conversation, it's an important conversation, just like every conversation that we have on this podcast. We are talking to the people of Bulk and Spur. We want to know the people, not just the employees. And that's how we get to have a lot of fun on this podcast, as well as talk about the things that matter, talk about the safety, the standard operating procedures, and what have you. Okay, so we're still maturing as a podcast. I'm 41 years old, and I'm still maturing just as a human, trying to get out of the, 16, 17-year-old type habits and into my New Balances that are stained with grass and my denim jean shorts. It's a tough transition, but I'm working on it. But I digress. None of that matters. What matters today is our ownership team and talking to them a little bit about what goes on outside the walls of Bulk and Spur. And it's an awesome conversation, and I've got it for you right now. Welcome back into Always Pneumatic, Never Static. I'm very excited, as you heard in the open, to have my guests here with me today. We've got Andrea McClung, Bryan DeWolf, and Brad DeWolf, our ownership team, here with us today. Bryan, I'll say hi to you first. Thanks for joining us, man. How's everything going out there in Columbus today?
Going well, Marcus. Good to be here. I guess you missed us already.
I did. Well, we've got two halves of the coin that we've got to work out with you guys, and today's our fun half. I'm really excited for it. Andrea McClung also joining us. Andrea, how's things for you out in Columbus today?
Everything's going good, Marcus. Good to see you again.
Good to have you here. And last but certainly not least, we've got Brad here. Brad, thanks for joining us today. I see that Buckeyes sign there hanging on your wall. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I was actually going to throw something out to you guys before we ever got started. I was just going to see what would happen if I were to mumble OH. I kind of figured. Now, is it true? Are all three of you guys Buckeyes? Did all three of you attend Ohio State University?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, budding rivalry, as we've talked about a little bit here. You guys know I always have the Always Pneumatic, Never Static hat on when we're recording, but it's normally an Oregon Ducks hat. So I'm really looking forward to football season. We've got the Big Ten basketball tournament coming up here. I'm really excited to have some great Ohio State fans that I can banter with back and forth during football season. So as that comes around, we'll get into that. Do you guys, Bryan, Andrea, Brad, do you guys follow Ohio State sports pretty heavy like I do? I mean, I'm an Oregon grad, so that's why I'm following everything that they do. Are you guys big sports fans when it comes to that?
Yeah, we all follow Ohio State. We usually have a quick round table on Monday mornings about the game. So
Okay. All right. I like it. Well, you might have to invite me to that meeting if you could just want a guy in there that'll mess it up and keep you honest. Okay.
Well, we'll give you a call after we beat your Ducks next year. I think it's week 10
right.
we play or whatever.
Yep.
It's later in the season.
It's going to be a good one. And I don't know if you guys are like me, but I always hate seeing those really tough matchups come up that late in the season. I'd like to get those out of the way in September,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll leave the sports off the table here for a little bit. I might ask you about any rec sports you guys might take part in. Brad, I know that you've got quite the hobby, but the first thing I want to hit you all with, and Bryan, I'm going to start with you here. When you're not working, what does a perfect day off look like for you?
Probably 18 holes of golf with my buddies or my wife, and some 19th hole refreshments.
My kind of guy. That 19th hole libations, those are something that you cannot leave behind. That's a quintessential part of the golf round. Andrea, how about for you? Perfect day off.
Perfect day off is me on a raft laying on Lake Cumberland.
Okay, so we get a little outdoor time in as well. I like that, man. There's
Yep.
nothing better than laying on a raft with nothing to do out on a
Yep.
nice lake. Brad, how about you? Perfect day off. What are we getting into?
Perfect day off. I probably has something to do with spending the day on a boat, maybe a fishing pole, or maybe just boating somewhere for lunch, or just checking out the scenery of the coast of North America. I always say, if you want to see a lot of money, go get on a boat and drive around the coast, and you'll find it.
Absolutely. You ever strap on a slalom ski or a wakeboard or anything like that when you're out on that boat, Brad?
Not anymore, Marcus. I done turned the skis in sometime in my 30s. Said I was going to do it when I turned 50 and chickened out. So,
hey, good on you. It's not easy anymore. I got the fear at 21 when I blew out my knee wakeboarding, and I've only done it a handful of times since then. But I will say, my dad in his 70s, with a knee replacement, still getting up and slalom skiing a couple times a year. So I know it's possible, but I also see how much he hurts afterwards, and I respect turning in the skis at around 30. It's a high impact sport, and if you do it for a long time, you'll feel it.
yeah, it takes its toll.
I have a friend that was a former professional skier and wakeboarder. She's had 9 knee surgeries and then 2 replacements. So heed the advice. Stay on the raft with Andrea. Low impact, right?
There you go.
That's right.
So aside from now that perfect day, that sounds very relaxing to me. Brad, Andrea out on the boat, just letting the breeze blow through and enjoying the outdoors. Now, Bryan, I'm like you. I'm an 18 holes of golf guy as the perfect day, regardless of how I play. Normally not that great, but what kind of hobbies are you guys working on? Maybe you're not spending the perfect day off, but you've got something that you want to go out and actually work on. Bryan, would that be your golf game? Do you devote a lot of time to trying to get your swing in order, or do you have other hobbies as well that you like to spend time on during the off days?
Well, we take a lot of time off. I mean, take time off just chasing my kids around the country or world, I guess, really. But so really just trying to spend time with the kids. They're both grown and married, and we're waiting on grandkids, which we remind them quite often about. But but no, I think between the golf and chasing them around, it pretty much ties up my my spare time.
Okay. Now, did they move out of the area, or so is it a little bit of a travel to get to go spend some time with them?
Yeah, none of them live close by. Neither of them live close by. There's 2. I have a boy and a girl, but neither of them live close by. So
okay, so quite a bit of travel. I totally get that. Just to probably add to the all the travel that you did during junior high and high school sports and events and school activities, right?
Right. I didn't play golf when all that was going on.
Okay, so
that monopolized the weekends.
I get it, man. I get it. And that's when the golf swing goes away. And then once they get grown and out of the house, now you get back to working on that old swing, right? I understand that.
You got it.
Andrea, how about for you? Obviously, the lake is a hobby, and that encompasses so many things. But what other hobbies do you like to get into in your off time?
Yeah, so I don't really call it golfing. I call it swinging clubs. And I get my money's worth because I swing often.
There you go. Okay. So you like it. It beats
often.
you up a little bit, doesn't it, as a sport?
Yeah, so yeah, that's one of my hobbies, and kind of the same thing. I've got a son that lives over in LA and a daughter that's here. So if I'm not golfing, which I tend to do with my husband, and we try to travel and spend time with the kids, obviously. And we do a lot of that at Lake Cumberland. That's what's awesome about boating and having that time is with family for sure.
That's great. And nobody's going to scoff at a trip out to sunny LA, right? I mean, you go out there any month of the year, you get 70 degrees and warm. So we'll take it, right?
Yep.
That's awesome. Bryan, Brad, how about you? You mentioned actually something in the email that you spend quite a bit of time devoting to, and that is raising horses, correct?
Yeah, so my four-legged kids is what I call them. They they take all my money and most of my time. So
And what really goes into that? Now, I understand about, I grew up with a lot of ranchers and farmers right in my area. So to them, raising horses was different than a thoroughbred racing horse. They wanted something that could go out there and work for them. What is the difference in raising a thoroughbred racing horse? Because I know there's a lot of training that goes into that too, Brad, but how intensive is it?
yeah, I think I mean, the difference starts once they're late in their year old, and once they're late as a yearling, when we start breaking them so we can ride them. So you take them and break them, which most horses do that. And then after the breaking parts, where it really changes is that's when we take them to the racetrack and we just put lots and lots of miles on them, get them legged up to where we can start going fast with them and they can handle it. So it's just a different mentality between what you're training your horse to do. Horses are smart animals. So once you figure out what you're working with, or some are smarter than others, just like any other species. But once you figure out what you're working with, it's just exciting to see something that you've raised. Really starts with research and bloodlines, right? So it's all about bloodlines, just like a dog, a champion dog, or any other animal lineage. It's all about the bloodlines. So. Yep.
That's so cool. There's something, and I've never talked to somebody that raises thoroughbred racing horses about this, but it's interesting to me. Here in Oregon, there's actually a group of wild Mustangs down in Central Oregon that are still breeding, and they still add to the herd every year. And there's a group of people that go out there to break a couple of the horses. I'm not sure if it's every year. I think it's probably a little bit more than every year, but they try to kind of keep the herd healthy. And Brad, is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I was sitting on a four-wheeler on one side of Lake Billy Chinook. There's this huge chasm that drops, 400 or 500 feet to the lake below, and across on the bluff on the other side, I'm watching wild horses just run free and kick up dust. And it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Would you put your hands on one of those if you got a wild Mustang broken and somebody, because those things look legged up to me, Brad. I got to be honest with you. They're doing a lot of running out there.
I don't know, but you just described a pretty majestic view there. I don't
One of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. And I think the cool part was we didn't know that was going to happen. We were just out riding four-wheelers, and you see what looks like a tornado or a hurricane coming up over because of all the dust, and then you see 20 or 30 wild horses. Just a cool sight. Lake Billy Chinook, Oregon, if you're ever over here, let me know. My uncle's got a house out there. We'll get you out there and see if you can lay eyes on him for sure, man.
Sounds great, but no, I wouldn't want to try to train a wild Mustang. We have enough trouble training horses that we raise and we coddle and we handle every day. I couldn't imagine taking a horse that's been out in the wild and trying to teach him or train him. That would be a hand. That'd be a handful.
Yeah. I imagine so. I kind of figured that was going to be your answer, but I had to ask just to see.
That'd be a handful. I don't train horses, so
that might be a little tougher than water skiing, Marcus.
Yeah, maybe. Well, we're all about seeing where your guys' limits are today on this episode, so we'll find them as we keep going. I've got one here, and you guys have already talked about some of your hobbies, but do any of you have what you would call kind of a unique hobby or something that the employees at Bulk would be surprised to hear that's something that you're really into? Maybe it's not something that you're real open about. I know that's tough, but if I were to give you an example, for me, I've just gone so crazy since I got adult money. For my memorabilia. I'm sitting just a few feet from all my 49ers memorabilia on one wall, just a few more feet from all of my Ducks memorabilia. And for me, it's like I've built my own little personal museum, but people don't really know that about me because I don't constantly talk about the amount of money that I spend on this type of stuff. So any hobbies that would surprise the Bulk employees, Andrea, that you enjoy on your off time or little things that you get into or collect?
Well, if I don't own it, I'm sure they're going to rat me out. So I like wine.
Okay. Hey, there you go. So you got a good sized wine collection there at the house?
Yes. My husband and I, we collect wine.
That's cool.
and
that
drink
can
it
be something.
occasionally. Yes.
Yeah, right. And that's something that is that's almost an investment, right? Because some of these nice bottles of wine will appreciate in value over time, as I understand.
Yes, they should. They should, and they will. I mean, obviously, that's not why we collect them. I mean, we're not turning for a profit. Let's just put it that way. But we collect what we like and, share it with our friends and family, and it's kind of fun.
That's so cool. What would be your favorite all-time bottle that you've ever uncorked, Andrea?
Gosh. I am very partial to Silver Oak because I love an oaky tasting kind of wine, which that's a pretty well-known wine. But yeah, there's so many. There's just so many that are awesome that, yeah. I mean, I love Italian wines also. Really great. Just depends on what you're eating, Marcus.
Yeah, absolutely. I like how you knew that they were going to sell you out if you didn't say something about it. We'll get into a little bit of maybe some sibling rivalry here in a few, but I like that you brought that up. It's like, if I don't say this, no way my brothers are letting me get out of here without owning up to it. So,
right.
Bryan, how about for you? Anything that might surprise some Bulk and Spur employees that you get into?
No, pretty boring, Marcus. I don't think I got any surprises I can reveal here for you.
Okay, well, you know that I'm going to ask Brad and Andrea next, right?
If they could come up with something I'm not thinking about, by all means.
Brad, you already talked about how the horses take up a lot of your time, and also you've got some kids there as well. But anything that might surprise some of the Bulk employees out there that they don't know about you that you like to do in your spare time?
Really, Marcus, I'm kind of like Bryan. I just got the horses, the trucks, and stare out the window in my other spare time. I can't. I live in Ohio, so my affinity for boats and sunsets really is just like a dream most of the time,
Yeah, you're a little landlocked out there for sure.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, how about we turn it over to the competitive side, because obviously you guys have spent a lot of time together in your professional life, but you grew up together in your personal life. So let's talk about, first of all, Bryan, I'll go to you first. Who's the most competitive in your mind as far as the three of you are concerned? And you can answer yourself if you want to give that up.
I don't know.
I'm seeing a lot of smiles right here as he's thinking about it.
I guess, I don't know. I guess growing up, maybe I was pretty competitive. I don't know.
Emphatic agreement from Andrea over there.
I don't think, I don't think as much anymore. As you grow older, you learn to relax a little bit more and be a little more laid back. So, you know how the golf game goes. It's some days you have it and some days you don't. And if you get upset about it, it doesn't help it. It just makes it worse. So you try to take it in stride as much as possible. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't get to me from time to time, but yeah. So I mean, we play our fair share of card games, and we all want to win. Let's put it that way. There's no one throwing the game. Especially when we sit down and play some euchre.
We're not trying to make people feel better when we play cards. That's for sure.
Bingo.
That's what cards are for. I have seen some of my most non-competitive family members and some of the most laid-back extended family members that I have lose it over cards or board games. And I don't know what that is about us as humans, and it has a way of pulling that out of us. What kind of card games, Brad, are you guys playing together when you sit down for a little competition?
Oh, it doesn't matter. We can get competitive with anything, but from euchre to wizard to I don't know. My mom's got the whole gamut, Marcus.
Yeah,
we play a lot of different card games.
I only like to play a few because wizard, I never lose that, so I love that game. You can only control so much in euchre. Without decent cards, you just can't do a whole lot.
Understood. What was that, Andrea?
Bryan's favorite game is Poof. Right, Bryan?
Jeez. Right game. I have yet to win it, Marcus.
Oh, really? And that's why
Yeah,
she's
I
calling it
can't
your
win that
favorite
game.
game. Ouch, man.
It's
And
so
that's
stupid,
probably
too.
that's
It's a
probably the
dumb
first
game.
one
I
that they
won't play it.
suggest.
Yeah, it's a game that mom changes the rules to as you're playing. So we always feel like we're at a disadvantage. You have to watch mom. You have
Yeah,
to watch her.
I understand. You know, my mom never got into cards, but I did play quite a few card games with my grandmother on my dad's side. And of course, my dad and all of his brothers are big poker players. So I got the card playing experience from a very young age. And I'll never forget, I think I was about 9 or 10. I was over at my grandma's house playing cribbage with her. And it was my shuffle, and I was shuffling, and I just instinctively cut the deck and put it back, and she grabbed my wrist like I was taking money off the table, and she said to me very succinctly, "That's my cut." And I learned right then and there that grandma was not to be trifled with when it came to playing cards. So you guys are kind of describing sort of the same type of behavior out of mom here, where she runs the show.
Don't screw
You guys
grandma
are just
out
there.
of her cut.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what about now growing up, Brad and Bryan, I don't know the exact age dynamic there, but were you guys playing sports together at all growing up in high school, junior high, maybe Pee-wee or anything like that?
No,
No,
we're 4 years apart.
Oh, okay. So you
So
just
other
missed
than
it.
just like the normal, back when we were young, kids went outside and played every day.
Wiffle
Yes,
ball.
sir.
Out all day, like every day, all day, like get out of the house at 9. We'll be at dinners at 6. Don't be late, that kind of thing. But don't come back early either, right?
Right, I
We're
don't wanna
allowed back
see
in the
ya.
house until at least 5:30 for dinner at 6.
Yep.
But
Wiffle
yeah. So
ball.
I mean, in the neighborhood we played, but we were never in organized sports together. We was too far apart.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we had some mean games of wiffle ball in the neighborhood and flashlight tag.
Football.
Played a lot of that.
Tackle football.
Yep.
Play tackle
Until
football back in the
a
day.
mad parent comes out and tells you got to stop playing tackle, so then you go
Well,
find a different block
That
to
never
play on,
happened
right?
in our neighborhood. We broke
No.
bones and everything else. We kept playing.
The game never got to the end. It always resulted in somebody crying before the
Yeah,
before
before the
game
final
ended.
whistle. I get that. I get that. Andrea, did they ever involve you in any of their somebody's going to cry during this football game?
Oh, I'm sure a time or two. I didn't play tackle football with them, but we did play some mean flashlight tag back in the day.
Oh, that's so much fun. That's so much fun.
Yup.
How about any collections? Any you got any classic cars in the garage? Any records, coins, watches, sports memorabilia? I mean, I wonder with Brad, with your horse racing, I got to figure you got a trophy case somewhere, right? You've got some memorabilia from some accomplishments that you've made in your horse racing, I
So
assume.
we had a lot of, my father had a lot of success back in the day. And to be honest with you, Marcus, I'm just starting to build my stable that would be able to accomplish some of them things now, because horse racing is a very complicated sport, and there's a lot that goes into it. And to get to the level he was at, you can't claim horses from other people and expect to have that kind of success. So you have to raise them from the get-go, and I'm just now getting to where some of my babies are getting to the track. So
Okay.
hopefully we'll need a trophy case soon.
Well, it's proudly displayed there at the Plain City Terminal there outside of Columbus. All of your father's accomplishments in horse racing, and that was one of my favorite things when I was just had some time between people that we were interviewing. I don't know if you guys noticed me, but almost every time I was in the room by myself, I was up looking at all the pictures and all the articles and everything like that. I think it's so cool that not only your dad had so much success, but that you're able to kind of carry that legacy forward with your own stable, Brad. It's a really cool thing.
It's fun. Hopefully we can make waves like he did.
Yeah, for sure. So we've learned a little bit about what it was like growing up with you guys, but I do have a couple more questions. We found out that Bryan is probably the most competitive, whether he's willing to admit it or not. Was there any one of you guys that maybe was the troublemaker of the family? And for some reason, Andrea, I feel like I should ask you this question first. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the fact that I also grew up as a boy. So I just want to know what your take on that is.
Well, I would have to say it was probably Brad. However, Brad was a smart troublemaker. Brad knew just how far to push things and not get in too much trouble. So he had a lot of fun and didn't get in nearly as much trouble as he probably should have.
Okay. Now I got to ask, Brad, were you good at getting into just enough trouble and then leaving Brian at the scene of the crime?
No, he was gone, Marcus. I had no one to frame.
Because I'm 3 years behind my sister, and that was my duty in the family, was to be the scapegoat of whatever she cooked up and then left me in the lurch with, you know?
I could probably try to blame Andrea on some stuff, and none of my stories ever flew. They didn't go over.
Well, I wouldn't believe him.
Brian, would you agree that Brad was a troublemaker in the family?
Yeah, he probably got into a little bit more trouble than I did, but yeah, he's a little more ornery than I was.
You got any stories that are swimming around in your head that you might want to share with us here? I feel like, again, maybe this is an Andrea question, but Brad, you're giggling too.
Getting into them subjects we don't want to talk about, Marcus.
I know. I'm thinking we might be going
There may
too
have been a
far
few
here.
parties or two that Brad threw at
Left them days behind.
we really don't want to talk about a lot of details, though. But
Perfect. I totally understand, and smart move. You know, you're talking to a guy who lays his whole life bare on the air every single day, and I will say there are consequences, so it's smart that you guys are making that decision. We'll go ahead and just move on from that one. How about this? I know you guys like to travel. You've all mentioned that you've traveled around, seeing your kids and everything, and just trying to enjoy some of the sights of our great nation here. What's one of your favorite travel experiences that you've ever had? Andrea, someplace that you've gone that you just can't wait to go back to?
Probably Montana. What took me to Montana was not exactly a happy, fun thing, but we fell in love with Montana. It is a beautiful state with beautiful blue skies, and the air just smells better there.
You know, yeah, there's a lot of states out west that you get to say that about. The one thing about Montana is just so few people out there. If you want to get away from population, you can do it in Montana. You can be in a place where there are no humans for miles and miles and miles. It's really cool.
Yes.
What was your favorite part besides the scent of the air? Was it the skyline in Montana with those mountains up there has always been one of my favorite views.
Yeah, Glacier National is definitely a park that everybody needs to see. I mean, it is absolutely stunning. And there's a road that goes all the way to the top, and it's very steep down the sides. That was probably my least favorite part of the trip because I was certain that my husband was going to drive us right off the edge.
Yep.
And as we neared the top, the fog started to come in around us, and I started to panic a bit. So the road to the top is a little scary, but everything else beautiful. Stunning.
It's worth it once you get up there. Just be on the passenger side so that if you're lucky, you can always be looking at the hill rather than what's on the other side, right?
Right.
How about you, Brian? Favorite travel experience?
Well, I mean, my wife and I enjoy Colorado quite a bit. My son went out to Colorado for school, he went to college out there. So when we visited him, we really kind of fell in love with the mountains as well. I've never been to Montana, but, being on top of Pikes Peak at 14,000 some odd feet is pretty incredible, kind of looking down on the world. So
Yes,
that's
it is amazing.
neat.
Beautiful out there. Two of the most beautiful states in the union, if you ask me, that you guys just picked. And Brad, I'm wondering if maybe your answer's not going to have a shoreline or a coast attached to it somewhere, but favorite travel experience for you?
Yeah, so I'm a lot less traveled than they are, and I've never been to Colorado, Montana, or any of them wonderful mountain states out there. So maybe I need to try that because I think a mountaintop home in Costa Rica would hit me right in the head when I retire. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoy, but I'm more of a homebody. I like 3 and 4 day trips. I like the Caribbean, but I don't want to spend too much time down there. I like going to Florida for 4 or 5 days, see my mom, do some boating. Same with Lake Cumberland. I really like Northwest Arkansas is really beautiful. There's all kinds of national forests and beautiful lakes in Arkansas there. But yeah, I don't know if I have one that I'd say that there's one place that I'll have to go back to, but I do enjoy going around and seeing all the different stuff, different areas, and different kind of whether it's mountainy or natural parks or the oceans, like it all.
Sure. Well, you kind of sound in your travels like I am with Las Vegas. I have a rule with Las Vegas. It's 4 days, no more, because I start to worry about the mortgage, the liver, everything involved, and I've put a cap on it. 4 days max, and I agree with that. I like to be home, Brad. I'm kind of the same way. I'll never say no to a nice vacation, but I think a lot of times after the experiences, the best part of the vacation is getting back home, getting back to that routine, falling back in where I feel like I'm back in the race, and I'm at least aware of what lap we're on. I should put it that way. But I totally get that. Let's see here. We're in the interest of time, guys. I'm going to skip down. I've got a lot more stuff for you, but I feel like we found out quite a bit today, and I have a rapid fire question segment for you guys. Some of these are a little bit off the wall. You can choose not to answer if you don't want to. But I just want to find out some little things about you here. So we're going to go in the order of Andrea, Bryan, Brad, and I'm going to ask you each this question. So question number 1 on our rapid fire questions, favorite guilty pleasure snack, Andrea?
A Reese cup.
Oh, right after my own heart. There's nothing better. Bryan, favorite guilty pleasure snack?
It's got to be chocolate ice cream of some sort with a nut.
With a nut. Okay, so like a hazelnut
pecan or one of those. So
okay,
yeah.
All right, good choice there. Oregon, we are the hazelnut capital of the world, if I'm not mistaken. So we grow a good one down here. Come out, have some Tillamook ice cream sometime. That's another Oregon love of ours. Bryan, favorite guilty pleasure snack?
I would have to say my favorite is I run down to the local milkshake place and have them whip me up a banana peanut butter milkshake.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing! And if you've got a local place, they probably make better milkshakes than you can get anywhere.
I take
right?
a whole banana and shove it in. It's no fake banana mix. You get a real banana and you get real peanut butter or whatever, and you get real vanilla ice cream, and it's good.
That sounds amazing. I knew I was going to be hungry after asking that question, and I 100% am. Question number 2, Andrea first. Coffee or energy drinks? Coffee. Bryan?
Coffee.
Brad?
Coffee.
Kind of knew that one was going to be a clean sweep there, but I had to ask because I know the drivers are listening, right? And we got some energy drink drivers out there for sure.
I'm sure.
Andrea, favorite movie all time?
Oh, favorite movie. Gosh. I'm going to say The Shack.
The Shack. I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Yeah, it was with, I believe, is it Tim McGraw that played the lead in that movie? It was based off of a book.
Okay, gotcha.
Very good.
Tim McGraw, he's a sneaky good actor. He's been in some, he's in Friday Night Lights as the kind of the bad dad, and yeah, he's heck of a voice too on that guy. Bryan, favorite movie?
I'd probably have to go with Shawshank Redemption.
That's a pretty good guess, man. They're a pretty good choice
the one
there.
I've watched the most.
Yeah, that's a great movie. Such a great one. Brad, favorite movie?
Probably Pulp Fiction if you want to go off the wall, or The Hangover if you want to go with comedy, the original Hangover.
Those are two that I'll find easily in my top 15. Great choices there. Favorite sport to watch on TV, Andrea?
Football.
Slam dunk. Bryan?
Preferably my Buckeyes.
Yeah,
Okay.
We're a big football family. Football.
Football, Brad? Clean sweep?
It's football, man. Hockey's a close second on the TV because I like to watch hockey on TV.
Yeah. And how did you have a lot of fun watching the boys in red, white, and blue bring home the gold during the Olympics?
Very enjoyable Sunday morning, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh man, and you guys got it out there at a reasonable time. I was up at 4:30 a.m.
That's true.
sitting in my chair.
Think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was more patriotic than I've been most days of my life that very day because I got out of bed early for it.
That was a fun day.
Yeah. So football with hockey being a close second for Brad there. I think I know where this one's going to. Andrea, beach vacation or mountain vacation?
Oh gosh. I don't like to have to choose. I get the beach more often than the mountains, so I'm picking the mountains.
Okay, all right. I wondered if that wasn't which way you're going to go because of listing Montana as your favorite place, favorite travel experience. Brian, same one to you, beach or mountains?
Yeah, it's mountains.
Yeah,
And
Brad?
I'm not a snow skier. I just love the the topography is so much different than Ohio, right?
Yes.
So I think if you lived out there, it would probably become more mundane. But for me, it's, so there's something majestic about the mountains.
I will say that even living in Oregon my entire life, I grew up at like 4,000 feet elevation in actual mountains. There's something about it that just never really changes, and I love that about it. And also, I will say about the mountains that isn't true with the beach. There is a calmness and a quietness to the mountains if you get out far enough away that you just can't hear anyplace else. You hear the environment, and it's so quiet, especially when it snows. I love that. Brad, beach or mountains?
I don't differentiate. I kind of feel like going to the lake is more of a mountain vacation because we're down in the hills and it's surrounded by nothing but nature. Not on the lake that we're at, there's nothing built on the water anywhere. Like everything has to either float or be at the top of the hill.
Right.
So I feel like that's one of my favorite places in the world. So, but I mean, I've probably spent more time doing beach vacations, although I don't spend much time going to the beach. I would prefer to be on a boat or something to that nature, not sitting on a beach. I just can't go to the beach and lay out. That's not me.
You got to have something going on, right?
I'm not a pool. I can't go to the pool and lay by the pool all day. That's just not me. I would prefer to have something to do. So I guess from that standpoint, I would prefer a mountain vacation because you'd always have something to do in the mountains.
Yeah, it sounds like, well, at least you can dip a line in the water if you're on the beach. They don't let you do that at the pool, or at least they don't let you do it for very long, right? All right, moving on through here. This one I think is always a fun question to ask, but I'd say favorite road trip music. Andrea, and you don't have to go with just music here. This could be podcast, this could be audiobook, this could be radio show. If you've got a lot of windshield time, what do you prefer to listen to?
Typically, I'm listening to country.
Yeah? You got a favorite artist?
I love Eric Church, seen him lots of times, but I just love country music.
Country music fan. Okay, Brian, favorite thing with a lot of windshield time to be listening to?
I'm a big podcaster, so I listen to a lot of podcasts. When I'm driving, I'll line up some podcasts to listen to. If I go music, I mean, like country and all that, but there's something about the nostalgia of growing up in the 80s and listen to the 80s rock music.
It's never going to get old, Brian. I didn't grow up in the 80s, and I still listen to it. You know, it's stuff that my parents listen to a little bit more, but 80s music is always going to hold a very special place in my heart. I understand that.
I think it was a good time musically, so pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. Anytime that they're going to start throwing on stretch pants and selling out arenas, obviously they're doing something right?
Right.
Brad, how about for you? A lot of windshield time. What's coming through the speakers?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of windshield time, obviously, in my life. But the 80s, the classic rock, I listen to country, I listen to rap, and I don't know who sings any of it because I don't pay attention, but I'll listen to any of it if it sounds good and makes sense to me. A lot of stuff doesn't these days, but.
Yeah, well, that's the ever flowing river of time, Brad. It's got us all. Just depends on how far down it we are. I will say, great answers from all of you guys there. The correct answer was the Always Pneumatic, Never Static podcast, but I didn't let you guys study beforehand.
I said podcasting.
Brian did.
That would include this one for sure.
Okay, awesome. Well, we certainly are having a lot of fun making it, and these types of episodes are the ones that really just make me kind of warm and fuzzy inside because we're all having fun and we're finding out a little bit about each other. This next one is my last rapid fire question for you guys. And I want to know your favorite piece of advice that was ever given to you. Now, this can be from each other. This can be from your parents. This can be really anything. And I understand if you'll need a little bit of time to think about this. But Andrea, same order. We'll start with you. What's the favorite piece of advice you've ever been given?
Gosh, I am drawing a blank. I mean, I can go back to being a teenager, and it's something that I tell my kids is don't grow up so fast. Like enjoy not having, so many obligations and just worrying about yourself. Like enjoy it and don't grow up too quickly. But that's all I got. Sorry, can't come up with anything else.
No, don't apologize, because I think that's fantastic advice. I think that 41-year-old Marcus every single day looks back at how much fun that 17 to 22, 23 years old period was, and how much I missed out on because I was worried about things that didn't matter and wouldn't matter moving forward. I think that's fantastic advice, Andrea, and I think if we could all go back and do it again, we'd probably all heed that advice a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure.
Bryan, how about for you? Favorite piece of advice?
Well, I mean, Dad wasn't much of an advice-giving guy per se, but he more did things through example, and I think his example of hard work, and then just the way he ran Bulk Transit in the business, and being conservative with the finances and the balance sheet to make sure we make it through bad times. That was all good advice from a professional standpoint. So
sure.
Yeah.
And just absolutely essential to keeping the company running in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Brad, your turn. Favorite piece of advice you've ever been given?
Favorite piece of advice? I really don't know, Marcus. I guess maybe just diversify, be as diversified as possible in as many different things, not just investing, but in life as well. I mean, you want, the more you're involved in, the more you'll learn.
I thought you were going to say don't buy horses. You didn't.
Well, that was University of Hard Knocks. That's like a life lesson there. With University of Hard Knocks, that's where I got my bachelor's degree.
Okay. All right.
My master's came from life's bad decision.
Well, we won't ask you about any of those bad decisions. We'll just take your word for it that they've been made and you've moved on, because, again, we don't want to get too into the weeds here with our details, but those are all great pieces of advice. And I think that, it's hard when you look back on it. I feel like advice is one of those things you sort of compile over life. And still, though, I think really good examples from you guys there. I've kept you here for over 40 minutes at this point in time, so I want to go ahead and let you guys get back to it. I know you're busy. Obviously, running the company you run takes a massive effort from all three of you, including all of the rest of the people that are tasked with the day-to-day. So don't let me waste too much more of your time here, but I always do clear some space for final thoughts here on each episode. So, Andrea, we'll go in the same order. We'll start with you. Final thoughts here on our Get to Know the Ownership Group episode before we let you get back to it.
Yeah, my final thoughts are I hope people will understand us and know us a little better after this podcast. And I can't wait to hear more of our drivers on the podcast and employees on the podcast so we can get to know them better too. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to.
Amen to that. Well said. And I can't wait for to meet even more people. I was telling Brad before you and Bryan got in here, Andrea, how good the response was and how awesome all the employees have been so far. It really surprises me that none of these guys have their own podcasts because of how good they've been on this one so far. So, and every single one of you is welcome. If you're listening right now, hit up the website, podcast.bulktransit.com. Get in touch with me, please. Bryan, before we let you go, any final thoughts for us today, my friend?
Well, I feel like I need to shout out Mom too, because one of the things that she always taught us was there's nothing more important than family. So, don't let anything, whether it's money, business, ego, whatever, get in the way of your family. And so, that's something that I try my best to live by.
You can tell. Fly on the wall perspective here. Talk to plenty of your employees at this point in time. They feel like family out there, and that's the reason they're all doing such a great job for you still. Very well said there, Bryan, and thank you. And Andrea, I didn't say thank you to you for the time, but Bryan, Andrea, thank you for the time here today. Brad, on to you for final thoughts before we let you go.
Just one. I just really would like to know why you got the only Always Pneumatic, Never Static hat. I haven't seen that thing yet.
Well, I make a custom hat for every one of these podcasts, Brad, because I have a crop circle of a bald spot on the back of my head that I don't like it to see the camera. So the custom hat is something that comes.
When you have a full head of hair like me, you got to have a hat, right?
Well, I will look into seeing if we cannot get a run of the Always Pneumatic, Never Static hats moving, because I think they would be popular, and it's a really cool logo, if I do say so myself. So
It is good.
It looks good.
thank you. Any more final thoughts before we let you go, Brad?
Nah, I'm good.
All right. Well, Brad,
Appreciate it.
Bryan, and Andrea, thank you all for the time today. This has been so much fun. I've
Great
really
talk.
enjoyed getting to know you guys and also all the employees, and we get to do more of that every single week right here on Always Pneumatic, Never Static. You guys take care. We'll get you back on here again in the future, okay?
All right, Marcus. Thank
See
you.
you, Marcus.
All right. Thanks, Marcus.
All right, before we wrap this thing up today, I want to take a minute to talk about something that doesn't always get talked about in trucking companies, and that's the people running them. The three people that we just had on the air here. Again, hats off to Bryan, Brad, and Andrea. That was a fantastic interview. But here's the reality. In most companies, especially bigger companies, leadership sometimes kind of exists as like a mysterious figure in the distance. You know the names, you see them in the emails, you hear about decisions getting made, of course, but to employees, they're almost like mythical creatures like Bigfoot. You hear stories about them, but don't necessarily always get to see them. But one of the cool things about Bulk, as I see it, it's something a lot of people here would agree with, I think, is that the leadership team is not like Bigfoot here. They're accessible, they're human, and they're here to help, which I think is what today's episode really shows. Because when you run a trucking company, people tend to assume that that's your entire life, that you wake up thinking about freight rates, you fall asleep thinking about pneumatic pressure gauges, and you spend your weekends reviewing spreadsheets. Now listen, that's probably true more times than you would probably expect. But today, you got to hear that these three also have hobbies, interests, competitive streaks, sibling dynamics, all the same stuff that the rest of us deal with on the daily. And honestly, the sibling thing alone explains a lot. Because if you didn't grow up with siblings, you might not know exactly how that dynamic works, but it's easy to understand. There's always a competitive one. There's always a responsible one. There's always one sitting there thinking, these two are going to get us all in deep trouble. And I'm not saying which one is which. I think if you just listened to the interview, you probably made your own distinction there. But it's funny when you think about it, because running a trucking company is a massive responsibility. You've got hundreds of drivers out there on the road, equipment moving across the country, customers depending on you, freight schedules, safety compliance, regulations, the whole lot. But at the end of the day, the people making these decisions are still just people. And that's what we found out here today. People who have hobbies, people who might argue with their siblings from time to time, people who probably still have those old family dynamics pop up every once in a while. And if you don't think that happens, I promise you it does. Somewhere at some point, there's absolutely been a conversation that started as a business discussion that slowly turned into, but yeah, remember how you did this and remember how I did that back in 1987? That's just how siblings work. It starts out as one thing and it will progress into another because the experience that you've built with these people is so deep. It's hard to avoid that type of dynamic, and it's okay because, all jokes aside, I think there's something important about hearing leadership tell you about their hobbies and tell you about the normal stuff that they go through on the day-to-day. Because trucking companies, especially good ones like Bulk and Spur, run on trust, right? Drivers trust dispatch, dispatch trusts operations, operations trust the drivers. And there is a ton of trust that comes through in the conversations that I've had with not only the employees, but ownership and management at Bulk. And everyone hopes the leadership team is steering the boat in the right direction. And I think you can tell with Brad, Bryan, and Andrea that they are. And not only are they steering it in the right direction, but they're constantly making adjustments to make sure that that stays in the right direction through feedback, talking to employees, the whole lot, right? When people get to hear their leadership speak candidly, like what they just did about life, hobbies, family, interests, it does make the whole company feel a little bit smaller. Now, we're not talking about the biggest company in the world here, far from it. But one thing that I think makes Bulk special is that small feel. And I think today's episode made it feel just a little bit smaller because we all got a little bit closer. We all know a few things that we didn't know coming into this episode. And it's something like that I feel like applies to a lot of successful companies. None of these three set out with the grand master plan when they were 10 of, I'm going to run a trucking company. Life doesn't really work like that. Life's messy, things change, things happen, and sometimes the responsibility sort of finds you instead of you finding it. But what matters is what you do with that responsibility when it shows up. And the story of Bulk over the last several years, and that can be a lot further back than what you think, is that, I don't know, it just keeps moving forward is the best way for me to put it. I kind of tripped over my tongue there a little bit. But Bulk shows a story of continuity, of taking something that Bryan and Brad and Andrea's father built and making sure it continues to move forward. And if you've listened to this podcast for the life of it so far, you've heard this come up again and again, right? Drivers who've been here for 25, 20, 30 years, people who stayed because they believed in the company. We've heard already, with only 7 episodes in, a bunch of anecdotal stories like that. This doesn't happen by accident. I promise you it happens when the leadership cares about the culture. Now, of course, this is still a trucking company podcast, so I'd be doing everyone a disservice if I didn't wrap things up with at least one observation about the truck drivers from this, because here's something I noticed after doing all of these podcast episodes, and I promise you, I've done a lot of them. We're pushing 350 just for truck drivers. I've got thousands of podcast episodes under my belt outside of the trucking industry. And I'll tell you this just from experience, okay? There's something I've noticed, as I said, after doing all these episodes that seems to be a pretty common thread here. Truck drivers, you guys can smell inauthenticity from miles away. Fathoms, if you will. You cannot fake it with drivers. You can't give them corporate buzzwords. You can't give them motivational posters. If something sounds fake, drivers know it immediately. Their BS detectors are as fine-tuned as anybody you will meet. And that is why I think conversations like this really matter and resonate. Because when drivers hear leadership talking just like real people about real life, that's the kind of thing that builds respect. Bulk has a lot of drivers who take a lot of pride in working here, and I think that says something. So Brad, Bryan, and Andrea, thanks again for coming on the show and letting us pull the curtain back a little bit. I think you guys did a phenomenal job. These things aren't always easy to talk about, and as I said during the interview, you're talking to a guy who lays himself bare every single day of every single week and has done that going back 20 years. I'm comfortable with it. My shame meter is stuck at 0. That is not the way it is for everybody. So to come on and have these conversations about who's the troublemaker, what's your guilty pleasure snack, little things like that aren't always the easiest to talk about, but Bryan, Brad, and Andrea did a phenomenal job today, and I can't thank them enough. And to everyone listening out there, if you're behind the wheel right now, somewhere you're hauling plastics, flour, minerals, or whatever else we've got moving across the country this week, keep the shiny side up. Stay safe out there. That's the most important thing. And always keep that pneumatic flowing. Bulk and Spur Transit, I almost forgot. How dare I? You know, I teased you guys a little bit ago saying, hey, we are going to draw a winner for our big raffle here on the show very soon. And I just about forgot to do it today. But don't worry. Just about forgot is not the same as forgetting. That's a piece of advice I'm taking away with me forever. So what we're going to do here, I've got 2 groups of raffle entrants, and we're going to spin our prize wheel here twice. Once for the first prize, once for the second prize. We've got the same number of drivers mixed in to both wheels, so your chances are the exact same at winning the prize as everyone else. I just want to make that clear real quick. Now, what I've done here is I've taken our first group of drivers, or our first group of entrants, I should say, and I've put them all on a prize wheel. Now, the first group of you is going to be Richard Salyer, Paul Francis, Mark Burleson, Ronnie Poe, John Everidge, Ryan Gowdy, Joshua Hull, Freddie Caudill, Bobby Davis, Michael Lowe, Charlie Martin, and Kevin Crutchcow. Now, when you hear me click right here in a second, that wheel's going to start spinning. You'll hear the little ticking sound effect, and boom, it will present me with a winner. This is as random as we could do it. I didn't even want to put all your names in a hat and pick it out because there's still a human element to that. I'm letting the robots handle it. So, for Richard, Paul, Mark, Ronnie, John, Ryan, Joshua, Freddie, Bobby, Michael, Charlie, and Kevin, this is your time. Good luck to you. Let's see who's going home with the prize first. There we go. Okay, so there's a little bit of a delay there at the end as that thing was picking. It goes for a little bit, and I got to be honest with you, it was like less than an eighth of an inch of ticking over to the next name, but it did not tick over to the next name. Congratulations to Bobby Davis. You are going home with a Flex Cool vest by Glacier Tech in high vis. This thing maintains 59 degrees for up to 2.5 hours. It recharges in 30 minutes, and it comes with 12 cooling packs. Retails for around $200. So congratulations to you. You will be getting a call soon. We'll be reaching out to you to talk about sizing Bobby. So Bobby Davis being the first winner. Congratulations to you. Time for us to put in our second group of drivers. And our second group of drivers consists of Mike Upchurch, Mike Vedovitz, Perry Horde, Stephen Bell, Mike Short, Jeff Linney, Julian Fields, Brett Pitts, Gerald Kress, Bobby Armstrong, Ethan Gleim, and Michael Lowe. All right, fellas, same thing. We're going to be spinning the wheel here, and whoever it lands on gets to go home with a Flex Cool vest by Glacier Tech, of course, in the high vis, because we got to make sure you guys got all that PPE gear and everybody can see you. So here we go. Mike, Perry, Stephen, Mike, Jeff, Julian, Brett, Gerald, Bobby, Ethan, and Michael. Time to spin the wheel. Going. And we've got our winner. Congratulations to Bobby Armstrong going home with that Flex Cool vest by Glacier Tech. There you have it, everyone. It's that simple. These are your 2 winners, Bobby Davis and Bobby Armstrong. How on earth did we get 2 Bobbies? Well, we had 3 Mikes on that second wheel, so maybe we're going to double up here, but Bobby Davis, Bobby Armstrong, you are our winners of the Flex Cool vest by Glacier Tech. Thank you all so much for entering our raffle. Now, don't worry. If you didn't win this time, we will be doing another raffle for the employees in the fall. So all you got to do is keep listening to Always Pneumatic, Never Static for details on that. And I would also like to give a very special shout out to Joshua Hull from the Sydney terminal. He was the only one that got a perfect score across the board. So nice job, dude. That was like, we have that many entries and you're the only one. I feel like we give you a little round of applause, give you some flowers there on the podcast. Now, for the 2 fellows that won, we'll be in touch, fellas, to get your size, get that ordered for you, and make sure you keep coming back to the website to test your knowledge or interact with the latest episode and all the other ways that we've got. podcast.bulktransit.com. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and thanks for the raffle entries.
And that's all she blows for today's episode of Always Pneumatic, Never Static, your #1 and probably only pneumatic trucking podcast, brought to you by Bulk Transit. Thanks for rolling with us today. Till next time, stay safe, keep those lines clear, and keep it pumping.